you citizens of the Interwebs. I am Snickers. This is Meat Snack. This is the Snick Snack Sports Fantasy Football League podcast, bringing you the Mansfield and Pennsylvania State University teams. How you doing tonight, Nate?
Doing great, Snickers. How are you?
Doing well.
Looks like we got another great show for you all tonight. I hope that you're ready. We've got Kyler on the show. We've got a new sponsor today. Hope you enjoyed last week's sponsor from Meat Snacks. Thanks again for sponsoring that episode. We'll be talking about last week. We'll be talking about the upcoming week, the news, the predictions, some failed trades, and we'll get right into it with last week's recap. All right, Nick, I think it's unavoidable. But we first have to address what happened in our matchup last week. It was a little bit of a single-sided matchup. Why don't you tell us what happened from your perspective?
Hey, all I know is none of your players scored my score, just singularly. Yeah, I mean, Lamar Jackson getting 13 points. I was hoping he could get, 40, 50 again. Big elephant in the room, Jonathan Taylor being ruled out. Didn't help. Khalil Herbert turns out wasn't the lead running back anymore. J.D. McKissick, I knew wasn't, but he's good for 6-7 points a week. Drake London, Mike Evans did do all right, but Tunyon, Brandon Cooks, everyone kind of crapped the bed all at the same time here is a little unfortunate.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't all your fault. Your projection, you can see, is sitting at 100 even there, and you got half that, which is you can't count on that ever again. That's pretty epically unlucky. And meanwhile, on my side of the ball, I had the best week of the year. My first four players, they're all scoring more than 20 points. Breece Hall finally had his big breakout. Jeff Wilson had his biggest game of the year. Devontae Adams maybe had his swan song for the next few weeks. We'll talk more about that later. But and it really wasn't like your bench was going to help you out a ton. I mean, there was a couple of big performances from people I wouldn't have played.
Yeah, I mean, Alan Lazard I probably should have put in, but Ken Walker, who knew that Rashad Penny was going to get injured and he was going to basically take over. I am very excited for Ken moving forward here, but yeah, it's not a lot I don't think I could have done there.
And it wasn't your week in more ways than one. As we found out, the bet last week was between Breece Hall on my end, Dameon Pierce on your end. Breece Hall, I can see on my screen here, got almost 30 points. Dameon Pierce had a good game, but he couldn't match 100 on the ground and 100 through the air. So I believe you're now sitting at 0-4 on the bet. So a comeback is going to have to be brewing.
Yeah, I mean, don't call it a comeback.
But let's go back a little bit and talk about the current standings. We see a continued separation here with me and Nick both still hanging out kind of in the middle of the pack. I mean, big news. The Olive Man has officially arrived now. Ducky got his first win.
Yeah, Ducky got his first win and Kyle got his first loss. So we're all within a couple games of each other now.
That's right. So no entirely defeated teams, no undefeated teams. 5 weeks into the season, we see that John is now the bottom of the barrel there, 5% win chance. And Ducky joins Carson in the 1-4. Meanwhile, me and MidTier Nick are sitting right in the middle at 2-2-1. That'll change. We decided that we will be doing our tiebreaker in a couple of weeks. I hope everyone enjoyed Kenny's wedding, by the way. Congratulations to him and his lucky bride. But let's look here. I was looking at this for clues on why some people are performing the way they are. One thing I thought was interesting, Nick, is that Katie's team, Express Wit and Disconsent, has 0 roster moves on the season.
That is pretty funny. Katie's definitely had semi-easy schedule so far, but she did have a decent draft, so I'm not surprised to see her in the middle of the pack, but I am surprised to see that she has no roster moves there. And it's not surprising that me and you both have 11. We're near the top of moving and shaking here.
What seems like the height of unfairness to me is that I both have a lot more points than Katie and fewer points against than Katie, and yet she is still beating me with 0 roster moves.
Well, if you win the tiebreaker, you'll be beating her then. So we'll
That's
see how
true.
that goes.
Meanwhile, Matt is the most active player in the league at 16 roster moves.
Yeah, he's doing like 2 or 3 a week and spending some money on them too, but we'll see how they pay out for him here. He's the second highest scoring player so far.
Yeah. Okay, let's get into some more matchups. Why don't you break down what happened here with mid-tier Nick and Kenny?
Yeah, after the tie last week, it looks like Nick Adams wasn't really able to get his team back to full strength after the slugfest there. Travis Kelce, obviously, with the 4 touchdowns and 25 yards, with one of the craziest stat lines I've ever seen Monday Night Football. But his team overall, obviously, Tommy and Christian McCaffrey did their jobs, but the rest of his team really didn't show up to the bat here. While Kenny's continuing his amazing streak with some, Vikings players here: Kirk Cousins, Adam Thielen, Mike Williams, and Mark Andrews having great weeks there, as well as the truck Derrick Henry over there.
Yeah, I think that I'm predicting the kind of end of Kenny's streak here with Jamal Williams kind of running out of time. I think that we're going to be seeing my player, whose name is lost to me at the moment,
DeAndre Swift.
DeAndre Swift will be back in the fold after their bye this week.
Yeah, it's a good chance.
And it looks like that perhaps Nick is still dealing with who should I play every week at quarterback. He once again did not pick correctly. He's going to be haunted that by the decision every week until he decides to drop somebody. Now, we had a little bit of a lower scoring matchup here. The new last place team, John, lost to the hipster fantasy player himself, Shane. We got a victory with just 92 points. That's the kind of thing that you can't count on every week. But Geno Smith continues to work out for him at quarterback. Dalvin Cook is coming into form. Saquon Barkley has been proven to be a mean pickup this year. He got him in like the 3rd round, I think. And then the rest of his team totally crapped, but didn't matter.
Yeah, and then the big issue with John was putting Gabe Davis on the bench. Obviously, you're not going to start Gabe over Amon-Ra St. Brown, or possibly could have put him in over Amon-Ra Stevenson, but that wouldn't have even won in the week. So the 3 receptions for 160 yards for Gabe Davis? Obviously, that's not going to happen every week, but that's rough to see.
Yeah, no, that always hurts, even if I wouldn't necessarily have made a different decision, his position. But he's got to get Trey Lance out of that IR and stick Cordell Patterson in there. But Trey Lance isn't going to be doing anything for them this year.
Yeah.
I do think his team can still hold on if he makes the right moves.
I think he might be trying to keep Trey Lance for next year. Who knows?
Well, I wouldn't keep him either. He's probably a late round guy next year, but we'll see.
Yeah.
We have this was the matchup of the week, really. Bit of an upset, even though now they're both 4-1. Kyler, our guest today, a huge performance, 162 points, beats another big performance from Kyle. This was just a total shootout.
Yeah, absolutely. Kyler Murray, Josh Jacobs, Justin Jefferson, Hollywood Brown, Taysom Hill, they're all in very competitive games all Sunday long, and just took a lot of effort and took a lot of stats. Everyone's padding their own stats over there to get the win. Obviously, Kyle's team did look pretty good. Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs did their thing. Dameon Pierce, 100 yards, I think 1 or 2 touchdowns. And their defense is 2 of the best in the league. Takes you back to the 90s. But yeah, Kyle with the first loss, Kyler with the unseating the throne there.
Yeah, all because of that Taysom Hill pickup too. I mean, that guy is just all over the place. He, we shouldn't feel surprised anymore that every year he has 2 of these huge blow-up games where he throws passing touchdowns, gets like ridiculous rushing touchdowns, robbing the rest of his team. But he's just he can do everything.
Yeah. No, I mean, talk about Travis Kelce getting 4 touchdowns. Taysom Hill got his 4th as well. And a lot of people are pretty upset that he's not listed as a quarterback if he's throwing touchdowns. But
yeah, I get why they're struggling. I mean, he doesn't really play tight end, but he doesn't really play any position. He's like been more running back than anything. But that would look ridiculous to put him running back too.
And he recovered a fumble on special teams.
And now the couple matchup this week actually went the way of Katie, as Kenny predicted last week, which I was pleased to see. They're actually tied right now, although as we continue to predict her demise. We'll see how this continues. But maybe Katie's biggest week on the year on the back of Austin Eckler.
Yeah, Austin Eckler with the 3 touchdowns, doing pretty well. Amari Cooper staying relevant. Pat obviously getting a dub Monday night in Las Vegas. But yeah, I mean, Matt seems to be relying heavily on Nick Chubb, Cooper Kupp. He thought he'd be relying more on Jamar Chase, but he's not been as helpful as he thought. And Darren Waller with the egg there.
Yeah, and I mean, I think what happened to Matt was just the injury bug bit this week. Damian Harris, Darren Waller, and Nyheim Hines all exited like the first drive of the game. I don't know what happened to Young Ho Koo, but he also goosed him. So that may be an injury there. I don't know. So that was just tough luck on Matt's part. And then last we had the Olive Man's first win. Ducky edged out Carson for what felt like a garbage bowl kind of thing, but they actually are both shaping up to be decent teams. I don't think they're going to be like 1-win teams at the end of this year.
Yeah, I mean, Ducky obviously played the right players this week. Got Devontae Smith, Alvin Kamara, Chris Olave doing well, even though it sounds like he might be injured and out this week. We'll see how he reacts. And Carson with Leonard Fournette, playoff Lenny coming in week 5 here. But he did unfortunately start the Jared Goff experiment against New England, and Jared Goff does not play very well against the New England Patriots.
Yeah, I didn't even notice that his team was actually looked pretty decent besides the goose from Dalton Schultz and then Jared Goff. If he had just made that Russell Wilson decision, that may have done it for him, even though, no, actually not quite. So never mind. The Russell Wilson, he had a little bit of a better week, but it would have just made it a razor's edge loss.
Yeah, Hayden Hurst over Dalton Schultz would have done it, but it's always looking back. What can you do?
Yeah, I mean, David Montgomery on the bench was a bit weird too, but I could see why you would choose Rashad Penny, perhaps not knowing he'd be injured. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the news from this week? There was a lot of interesting things happening in the NFL.
Yeah, let's look at the news here. Obviously, speaking of Rashad Penny, he did suffer an injury. He's going to be out for the rest of the season, which is extremely unfortunate for everyone except for Kenneth Walker and Kenneth Walker managers out there. Other running backs is Brian Robinson. 8 weeks after getting shot in the leg, he is in the starting lineup tonight against the Chicago Bears. Very exciting story there. I know we've been tracking his progress throughout the podcast here. Big news out of North Carolina. Matt Rule, head coach of the Carolina Panthers, was fired this week after going 11-27 in 38 career games, I believe. And that's bringing a lot of speculation that Christian McCaffrey might possibly be on the trading block. He might be getting out of there, and they might be blowing up the whole thing again to see if they can get back any kind of 2015 energy there. There's a story of Javonte Adams getting charged with a misdemeanor for his late night push on Monday when a cameraman ran in front of him and he knocked him down. He is possibly going to get suspended. He's on bye this week. We'll see what Raj does as far as the decision there. Back to Carolina, Baker Mayfield, leg injury, out for 4 to 6 weeks. PJ Walker is taking on the Rams this Sunday here. And Skylar Thompson, the 7th round draft pick out of the Miami Dolphins, is going to be starting this week against the Minnesota Vikings with Teddy in concussion protocol, and Miami still being very, very safe with how they bring back players with the concussions here.
Yeah, and did you mention the bye weeks already?
Yeah, the bye weeks, we got the Raiders, we got the Titans, we got the Lions, we got the Texans. A couple big things, obviously a couple players in the Lions. Derrick Henry is going to be out, Damian Pierce. But yeah, just watch that if you're fantasy managers of those teams here.
All right, agreed. And Devontae says, just to comment on that the guy came out of nowhere and kind of spooked him. I think you can't be throwing people to the ground either way.
Right.
But yeah, let's get into the look of the week ahead. As a refresher, tonight on the show, we have Kyler joining us. He's co-first place at the moment. Big win last week over Kyle. And we'll be having him on the show. We'll be talking about some potential trades. We'll be talking about some matchups. But first, we have a quick word from our sponsor.
Guys, are the fantasy football losses getting you down? Spending your nights crying alone in bed? Do you have a Wendell Smallwood when you want a Mecole Hardman? Is your lady asking for the Cam Dicker, but you just can't split her uprights? I think it's time for your Danny Woodhead to score you a win with D-Line. D-Line is a patent-pending drug used to give men just what they need to perform in bed. Just a quick bump of this potent stuff is all it takes. Brett Favre has said, D-Line gives me the confidence I need when texting the ladies to know I can seal the deal. Ben Roethlisberger praises D-Line as just what I need when the going gets tough. The FDA wrote, cease and desist. D-Line can be bought wherever off-brand Slurpees and cigarettes to minors are sold. So if you need to put the D back in your dick buckus and get back to penetrating her hog mollies, get D-Line.
All right. Yeah. Thank you very much to D-Line for sponsoring today's show. We actually got a little bit of a preview there because we have Kyler joining us on the show in just a moment. All right. Please welcome to the show, Kyler. All right, Kyler. You're 4-1 right now. You had a big win last week versus Kyle. So the two of you at the top of the league at 4-1. Your team's coming together, and this week I'm facing you. What do you in your success?
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Such a highly viewed and reputable podcast you got going here. I'm excited to be here. I've been zooming with my mom on the weekends practicing, so getting more comfortable on the Zoom. Yeah, I'm looking forward to our matchup. I think it's going to be at every position we're matched up pretty evenly. So there's definitely going to be some back and forth at each position and close matchups.
Yeah, here, let me pull it up here. It looks like you are currently not projected to win, although your lineup might not be entirely finalized yet. And it looks like, thankfully, neither of us have anyone in tonight's matchup. I don't know if you've followed it, but the score is currently 0-0 at halftime, as far as I can tell. And no one's doing anything.
Yeah, this Thursday night matchup's really exciting. I don't know if it's going to be a 3-0 game or a 0-3 game. This is the way it's going so far. So glad they picked that one for a Thursday night.
Yeah, right.
I don't mind that either. I rarely catch those.
I do appreciate that Roger Goodell set up the bye week for the Raiders for Davante Adams to be on your bench the week I'm playing you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, if he wasn't, he might be suspended this week because of the push. But
True.
We'll have
Did you guys talk about the push at all in the first half of the show?
We talked about it a little bit just a second ago. Just that, he claims he was spooked. I saw the video. I mean, it was out of nowhere, but you still can't throw a guy to the ground.
All right.
But who are you? It looks like you are the underdog this week, although I don't know if that move things around might help that. Who are you counting to maybe overperform to make up for that gap?
Really the Packers defense. I think Zach Wilson's going to throw a few picks. I think the Packers defense is going to come through with a 20-plus point defensive spot. So I'm looking forward to that. The running back's really a question mark for my team now that I lost Javonte Williams.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, Davante Adams being in the news all the time, he's still on my mind. Yeah. But with Williams down, the running back's going to be a revolving door on my team the rest of the season.
Yeah, you're in a tough spot this week as you're forced to play Tevin Coleman. I have to say that I'm likewise thankful that Josh Jacobs is on bye because he's been nasty this year.
Yeah, absolutely. It definitely will be interesting here. So the other one I have is, Justin Jefferson's hit or miss. Sometimes he puts up a 30-plus point game. Sometimes disappointing around 10, 15 points. So, he could help me out. And let's see, we got Taysom Hill, which I was hoping on Kyle Pitts having a good season for me. I drafted him early and didn't really work out for me so far. So I am going back and forth on whether or not I should start Kyle Pitts or Taysom Hill this week. That'll be a game time decision.
I gotta say, I'm a little terrified of Taysom Hill just because what he did to Kyle last week. Holy cow. 4 touchdowns out of nowhere, but he always has the danger of just scoring 0 points too. So don't blame me for that. Now, Nick,
Who on you think's going to really go off this week? Do you have any high expectations?
I am hoping for an overall even week. This is the first week I'm playing Raheem Mostert, who is officially coordinated as the starting running back of the Dolphins, it seems like, and they have the third string running back or quarterback in. So I'm optimistic there. Chris Godwin is coming into the fold. Hopefully we'll be able to replace Devontae Adams adequately. Breece Hall just had a breakout. So I'm pretty happy with how things are looking at the moment for my team. Now, who is your matchup of the week, Nick?
Yeah, my matchup that I'm looking forward to here is the Fufu Cuddly Poops against the Olive Man Arrives here. It's 2 friends from college. They both know Ducky's girlfriend. They're good friends. They've been hanging out for a long time, but 4-1 against 1-4. We have to be an uphill battle for Ducky to win this against Kyle here. He does have a pretty good team. His running backs are looking good. His young wide receivers are looking pretty good as well. But yeah, like Kyler knows, it's a tough battle trying to take down Kyler with Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs on the same team over here.
Yeah, I mean, he does have Terry McLaurin in the game, who's done very little so far. He's being forced to rely on Benjamin, who was somehow projected at 14 points. I don't see that happening. Because the starter on that team hasn't been getting 14 points every week, I'll tell you that. So there's some ways. There's a path to victory here for Ducky, I think. Who are you calling here, Kyle?
I think you're right. I think it's going to be a close one. The Josh Allen Stephon Diggs matchup, it's hard to bet against that. If you have Diggs and Hill, that's almost as good as Matt having Cup and Chase. When you have 2, solid wide receivers like that, it just makes your entire team tough to beat. Absolutely. So I'm going to have to go with him.
Yeah, I have a hard time straying from Kyle too, especially with Daniel Jones sitting in his starting lineup on Ducky's side. That's a risky move. And then my matchup of the week, I'm actually calling a Snickers game here. We have the 2-3 Mighty Ducks playing the 2-2-1 MidTier Knicks. And Snickers, why don't you tell us why you're going to win this game?
Yeah, if Jonathan Taylor plays, they have an easy path to victory here. Plays a full game, he's going to be able to destroy the Jacksonville Jaguars. They're in Indianapolis this time, so they're not going to have that curse laying over them. They pick up Irv Smith, who's young athletic tight end. Lamar Jackson obviously is very, very, very good. See if Travis Kelce can score less than 4 touchdowns. I think I have this one in the bag.
What do you think, Kyler? Can Snickers come back from 52 points last week in our matchup?
Let's see here. I gotta zoom in on my phone. You guys recommended doing it on the laptop, and I went against you better. And I'm doing this on the phone here. Christian McCaffrey, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Keenan Allen. Let's see, Brady and Kelce. I'm gonna have to go with MidTier Nick slides by closely. I can never bet against Tom Brady. I have in the past. It hasn't worked out for me. Every time I think he's done and over with, he finds another gear and has another 2 years in him. So never bet against Tom Brady. I'm going with MidTier Nick. Also, Travis Kelce's insane at the tight end position. So I like that little boost they have too.
I have to side with you here, Snickers. I think that Lamar Jackson has the potential to blow up like he does sometimes. Kenneth Walker has become a viable player for you. So we will see. It's going to be a close one, though.
Yeah.
But now let's talk about the waivers from last week. It wasn't a huge waiver week, but I do see that you grabbed someone, Nick. Well, I think the biggest news of the week was that Fufu Cuddly Poops expended $27 to pick up Benjamin, and no one else bid on him. That is a fab nightmare right there.
I can never trust the Cardinal running backs over there.
It may pay off for him. He's projected much higher than we expect. Maybe they know something we don't.
I that may be, but even if he does become the best running back in the league, I think the $27 of over expenditure just always hurts. But other than that, it was some small stuff. Kenny picked up Graham Gano, the kicker, and dropped Chase Claypool. Now, if you recall, he traded away Kareem Hunt for Chase Claypool last week, and so he now has just basically given up Kareem Hunt for free. I don't know if I can get behind that decision.
That's a nice donation from him. Maybe donating to the rest of the league. Yeah, I mean, I remember the first week of the season, somebody spent about half their entire salary cap on the waiver wire on one player.
That was me.
Yep. So I don't think you have a lot of room to talk about overpaying for some waiver players. I'm not sure.
I certainly do not, but I do it anyways. But I actually did put a bid on the Rams this week, which I'm not sad at all that I lost, because I ended up getting to keep the Vikings. May now get to play third string quarterback, which I know at the time, so I'm okay with that. And it looks like you outbid Matt for Herb Smith, so hopefully that'll provide your team what you need, Nick.
Yeah.
Now, why don't you tell us about the trade offer you received this week from Matt?
Yeah, Matt saw that I drafted Kenneth Walker in the late rounds. I knew he was going to be able to start at some point this year with just Rashad Penny's injury history. He tried to send over Cam Akers and Brandon Ayuk, who I do not want Cam Akers on my team, even if he was giving me for free. And the Kenneth Walker for Brandon Ayuk trade just didn't seem very even to me here, especially as I'm very running back needy.
I'm with you. Which side of the trade are you on, Tyler?
Welcome to the running back needy club.
Yeah.
If Matt sends you that trade, Kyler, you taking it?
I do like the upside of Cam Akers. I don't think Darrell Henderson can stay where he's at forever. And yeah, Walker's. I probably would have taken the trade, to be honest. I sent Matt a trade; it got shot down pretty quickly.
Who were you offering?
I was at least hoping for a counter offer. But
what was the deal?
I'm definitely I'll be piecing together another trade for Matt here coming up.
Yeah, and Nate, you said you had a trade offer as well.
Yeah, I sent over to Kyle. I'm a manager of Raheem Mostert, and I thought maybe I just lock up that whole backfield, try to get Chase Edmonds. He's borderline droppable at the moment. I'm able to get him for real cheap, and then if Raheem Mostert gets injured, then I'll still have the backfield. And I tried to send over Mike Boone, who still could be a viable starter. Kyle thought about it, but when he landed the big Benjamin pickup, he decided to pass.
Yeah, I can't blame him for that. Mike Boone has never been too much of a threat with Minnesota or in his current place in Denver.
Yeah, no, it was a shot in the dark. I don't blame him too much either. Now, getting into some real NFL matchups this week, I think the one we're all going to be watching perhaps is the Chiefs-Bills rematch from the playoffs. That game, for all who watched it, was intense to the end. I think they scored there was 3 game-winning drives in the last minute. I think we're all hoping for another set of fireworks, a barn burner there. It's the afternoon game, so it'll be interesting to watch. What are you watching, Nick?
Yeah, I definitely feel bad for the 2 other 4 o'clock games that are on at the same time. No one's going to be watching them, but the game I'm looking at on Sunday is Sunday Night Football, Cowboys, Eagles. Used to be the NFC least, now it's the NFC best division out there right now, 5-0 against 4-1. I think the Cowboys do have a chance. The Eagles have looked decently beatable against the Lions, against the Cardinals, who aren't necessarily very good teams. They did pull out the win. If Cooper Rush can continue his magic streak going of not throwing picks and only winning games, it's an automatic dub for the Cowboys. But I have to probably lean a little bit toward the Philadelphia Eagles in this one.
I'm with you there. I mean, they're still undefeated, right?
Yep, 5-0.
And what about you, Kyler? What are you watching this weekend?
Pretty much any game other than this Commanders and Bears. I mean, they the 3-0 total I was projecting for the final score. So after we're done here, I can go to bed knowing that there's no more scoring going to be happening that I'm going to miss. I do think Eagles Cowboys is going to be a good one. I agree with you on that. Dak Prescott make an appearance, might come out in the fourth quarter and do the game-winning drive. So
That would be a story.
that
He
would
is pretty good
definitely,
against the Eagles.
Cooper Rush is, he's undefeated as a Cowboy this season. And if Prescott comes out and wins the game, there might be some back and forth with the two of them. Be interesting.
That
But
would be very interesting.
the game I'm really hoping for is, I have Kyler Murray as my quarterback, mostly because he's got the best name in, the entire world. But so the Cardinals Seahawks game, I think Kyler Murray's going to have a breakout game. He's kind of, slumped this year a little bit. 3 rushing touchdowns isn't out of the question. And Seattle's defense isn't great. They're down a running back. I think they're going to be doing some passing, could go back and forth, high scoring. And Kyler Murray gets back on track to being, able to walk around with some, with some swag.
Yeah, there we go. But yeah, no, good matchup. I mean, definitely thanks, Kyler. I'm gonna let you go now and get to Caitlin's hot takes, but thanks for coming on, the previous 2-time champ here.
Yeah, absolutely. But we'll see y'all soon.
All right, talk later. Thanks, guys.
Bye. Yeah, I know we're running out of time. So now, for all of you who are still with us, we have Caitlin's hot takes here in just a moment. All right, welcome, Caitlin. We just have a couple minutes left to chat with you, and we'd love to hear what you think about the NFL this week. What are your musings?
Well, I'm really excited about my idea to replace all football stadiums with field handball.
And tell us why that makes a bit of sense.
Because field handball was last played at the 1966 Olympics. Now it's been replaced by regular indoor team handball. But field handball is the same size as a football field, or fits within that. It's less violent. It's more back and forth. More scoring than soccer, less scoring than basketball. I think it might be the perfect sport.
Well, how do you plan to sell the fans on it? Who will love all the big hits?
I feel like people want smaller hits. Less concussions.
Less concussions is nice. What do you think, Nick? Is this
Yeah, less concussions I can definitely get on board with. I'm a big stats guy, and I don't see a whole lot of stats other than scoring for handball. I don't know what else you can get. If you can add in some tackles or add in some obstacles, you might have me there. But
well, there's blocks.
Yeah. Okay.
You can passes. I don't know that much, as I haven't played handball since elementary school gym class.
There you go. So yeah, I mean, it'd be a little bit like hockey, but a little easier to follow, probably, it sounds like.
Yeah, I guess hockey with less equipment. My problem is just that even Europe can't get behind it. I mean, it's not like they have big teams over there. It's just like a gym class game as far as I'm concerned.
No, it's big in Europe, I think. Well, the indoor kind is, but they need to go back to the outdoor kind. It's because in Europe, the fields are being used for soccer because it's the same size as soccer fields. So we also need to dismantle soccer. It'd be a whole thing.
It's a whole thing. And we'll hear more about that next week, perhaps, because we're all out of time for today. Thank you, Caitlin, and your hot takes. And thank you all for joining us this week. We'll see you all next week.
Week 6.